Hey everybody, welcome back to JSG Trains. I know it's been a while since I posted anything, but I've been busy with little train projects in the room and projects outside, putting up a new gazebo and such. But I wanted to share my latest two projects. One of them, most recently, is this display shelf that I put up above the double doors coming into the train room. As you can see, it's a wooden shelf that has, it's hung by a French cleat, something I knew nothing about. However, last year at our open house for the Christmas Club, David Nakamoto suggested using a French cleat, and this is something that I'd never heard of. And it was not too bad putting it up, and it's really strong. I received both of them from Amazon. Each one, I believe, is 42 inches long, and each one has 21 screws in the plate that mounts on the wall and another 21 screws that mounts on the back of the shelf. So it's very strong because all screws going into the wall hit the door header. So I know that's not going anywhere. However, there were another 84 screws that went into the back of the shelf, and it took me a while. It wasn't difficult. It was just time consuming. The one thing that I wish I would have noticed, however, when I was installing it, is the screws that come with the plate. Now, I don't know why they would provide silver screws for a black plate, but I did not realize this until I got halfway down the wall, and I just didn't like the way it looked. However, I wasn't going to unscrew all of them and go to my local hardware store and pick up black screws, so I just decided to continue with the installation. And what I did was I got some flat black paint, and I painted the head on all 84 screws going into the wall. The ones on the back side of the shelf I left silver because you can't see them, so why go through all that? I'm really pleased with it. I got these display cases from a friend that I met at a train show, Chris Cross, and he was selling a bunch of these cases, and I got them for practically a song. I mean, I just couldn't pass them up. And so I displayed this one Hudson that Lionel made back in 1998, and that's the locomotive that my wife got me for our anniversary that got me back into the hobby. And so I really wanted that one up here. And then this other one is a tin plate set that I've had boxed for years that I've never been able to enjoy running or looking at. So my plan is to, I don't know, every few months pull them down, run them, and then change them out with something else. But I'm just tickled with the way it came out. So that was the first project. And then the second project was another display case in between the door jamb and this wall here. Now, I was going to build something and stain it like I did the shelf up above it. However, my wife thought it would be a time-consuming project, and with everything else that we have going on, she was set to find something on Marketplace, but we weren't having any luck because the smallest cabinets that we could find on Marketplace were a minimum of 24 inches. And this gap just happened to be 23 and a half inches. And I was not going to take a saw and narrow the door jamb. That's just not going to happen. So at any rate, my wife found this cabinet on Marketplace. However, it was about an hour away, and I was hemming and hawing about driving 2 hours to pick this thing up. However, in the end, it was worth it, but I have to tell you that I was very disappointed when I arrived at the person's home because I liked the way it looked and everything. However, when I opened up this door, I could see the floor. He had this out in his garage, and what I saw was concrete. So I had to buy a small section of plywood, and my intention eventually is to stain it. But I had to buy a piece of plywood and then reinforce it underneath with cleats so the shelf had something to rest on. And then I had to attach a thin door skin to the back so that it would have a back. And so that took some time and a little bit of money to get that done. However, I was so excited about seeing this cabinet and knowing that it would fit in this spot that I really didn't look it over that well. And so as I continued to examine the inside of this, I found that the glass was only just glued in to the wood. There was nothing holding the glass in. And I don't know how this got home with all the rough roads that I had to go over. I'm surprised that all the glass wasn't busted in a million pieces in the back of my truck. However, after getting it here and seeing this and getting the bottom part of the cabinet finished, I went to my local hardware store and bought some clear silicone and continued to silicone areas where the gaps were at. And then after that dried, I was looking at it even further and decided, you know what? I need to put these reinforcements in here. You guys are probably familiar with these retainers to hold glass and mirror in. Well, I bought a bunch of these and I put them all around the door and the inside of the shelves. Hopefully I'm not moving too fast, but you can see them up there. And so I felt a lot safer with those being installed there. And then I had a couple of these LED rechargeable lights left over. And so I charged them up, and they're pretty cool. They're held in place by magnets, and there's timers on there, and there's different glows. I can get daylight or cool white, the real bright fluorescent looking light, or the old incandescent glow. And when I went to put the glass shelves in that came with it, I didn't realize that some of the corners were chipped, and I just didn't feel safe putting some of my locomotives on a shelf like that. So I went to my local plastics house and bought 5 1/4-inch 17 by 18 acrylic shelves and replaced the glass in there. So, excuse me, I'm pretty happy with the way it came out. So anyway, that's it for today. I just wanted to show a couple of things that I had been working on and say hello. So we'll talk soon. And if you like this video, excuse me, please click on the like button and subscribe. And whenever I do an update, you'll be sure to get a notification. Thanks so much. See you soon.